it is in the practice of these tools that I often feel most creative, most inspired, and most intuitive. And that creativity, inspiration, and intuition is often what leads into my most powerful work. And that can be true for you too. Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. Today, I want to share a story with you about sensitivity, nervous system regulation, and creativity, and why, if you are a sensitive, creative, or entrepreneur, the moments that feel like these little derailments throughout the day. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you hit what seems objectively like a little pebble in the road of daily life, and suddenly you're like activated and you're spiraling and your pulse is up, and there's all this stuff you need to now do to bring yourself back down. So, I'm going to talk about why these everyday derailments that you might experience if you're a sensitive person like I am, that these can actually be gateways to flow and creativity. And I know that might sound nuts because you might understandably be thinking, no, those are derailments. They're roadblocks to my flow. And you know what? I can relate to that too. Um, but I'm going to share how they can also be gateways into your intuition and your creativity. And I'm sharing this story not because I handle these little pebbles in the road of daily life so gracefully or easily. I'm sharing it not because I don't get derailed. I'm sharing it precisely because I do. And if you are someone who gets derailed like this too, um, I think it's helpful to hear how other people move through it. And because it's these exact kind of experiences that allow me to coach other people who experience fear and overwhelm and self-doubt. So if you have ever felt suddenly knocked off course by something seemingly insignificant in the course of your day, uh, that and it feels like this pulls you away from your creative process or working on your business or pursuing the things that are meaningful to you, then this episode is for you. And I hope to show you that your sensitivity, although it can feel like a double-edged sword, is not a weakness. It is truly a superpower. And when we tend to it skillfully, lovingly, with care and attentiveness, it really can fuel your work, your creativity, and your purpose. And before I get into this story, I want to invite you to something that I'm hosting soon that's all about using your sensitivity as a superpower in your work and in your visibility. It's a free live workshop called Let Yourself Be Seen. And it's for sensitive creatives and entrepreneurs who want to share their work without losing themselves. We're going to be talking about how to use fear as a gateway into deeper self expression, how to share your work without burning out or abandoning yourself, and how to make visibility feel energizing rather than draining. So, this is for you if you've ever held yourself back because you were worried about what others might think, or you're worried you'll lose yourself in the process. I ran this workshop back in May, and it was so fun. It was so tender. There were such beautiful shares from people who attended live, and I just hope to see you there and to be able to connect with you there. So you can join me and others live on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Eastern, or you can watch the replay afterward. But it'll be really fun to connect with you there live. You can sign up at annaholtzman.com/be seen. And I look forward to seeing you there. And now back to the story that I said I was going to share with you. So, uh, this this story, it's not a big deal story, and that's really the point. This story is about something that happened, was it today? I think it was yesterday. And, I'm recording this on August 13th, so it was recently. This is just the most ordinary kind of thing that could just completely derail me from whatever it was that I was all revved up to create or to do in my work, in my business, in my creative activities that day. So the other day, isn't that odd? I can't remember if it was yesterday or today. I think that's gonna feed into the story. Um, I started off the day by taking one of my cats to the vet. We've got 3 cats, Billie Jean King, Suzy Roach, and Bruno. And Billie is the littlest of the 3, and she's the one who is the most like me. She is the most attached to me. She sleeps on my chest with her head just kinda, like, melted into my face. I know this because my husband has taken a photo of it after Billie and I have both fallen asleep. It's just, like, the sweetest, cutest thing. And like her human mama, um, Billie has a sensitive nervous system. She's the most sensitive of the 3, and she sometimes gets scared of things like loud noises or rain or thunderstorms. She hides under things, and, if people come over that she's not totally comfortable with, she will get under the covers in our bed, and you just see this little lump, under the covers. And she also has these, skin sensitivities, and they tend to flare up during the summer where she gets really, really itchy. I'm having, like, psychosomatic connection. I'm starting to itch my own head right where she gets itchy. Isn't that funny? So she gets really itchy right above her eyes and on her ears, and then because she's itchy, she'll scratch a lot, and then the scratches, um when it's really flared up, they'll get, like, scabby, and sometimes it bleeds, and it really is, like, hard to see it happen because I care about her so much because my system is sensitive too, and I just, I feel, whatever she's going through in my own way very deeply. So it's been kind of, like, a little off and on throughout the summer, this situation with her skin allergy. But lately, it's really flared up and gotten to the point where I felt like it was time to take her to the vet and get some help with this because it looked like it could potentially get into an infection, and I wanna be a good mom, and I wanna take care of her, and I want her to feel good, and I feel very agitated and unsettled when I can see that she doesn't feel completely settled and healthy and good. So, I took her to the vet, they checked her out. It was pretty standard stuff, nothing alarming. They gave me a very simple solution to help, and it's something that we've done once before last summer, and it worked really well then. It's just a short course of these anti-inflammatory pills. Short course of it breaks the itch cycle, and that in the past has really smoothed things out and helped Billy feel better. So that was what she prescribed again. So that was very calming and soothing and settling to my nervous system. But while she was checking Billy out and just doing her due diligence and looking at all the things and places, she happened to notice, she opened Billy's mouth and was looking at her teeth, and she said, "Oh, you know, she has tooth decay on her back molars. Did you know that?" And oh, I went into, like, such a contraction because first of all, I have been told by vets before that we really need to be brushing the cat's teeth, but kind of brushed it off like, "Ugh, who brushes cats' teeth? Are you serious?" And, like, they're really not gonna let us do that, and there's already so much that goes into, their care, and, I make their food and just all like, I boil chicken for them. There's just, like, so much that I'm already doing for them, and the thought of trying to wrestle them into letting us brush their teeth just put me over the edge of overwhelm, and so we haven't done it, and we're like, "We've had cats before, we never brushed their teeth. Is this really a thing?" So, when she said that, I just felt so, so guilty. I felt like I was a bad cat parent and, like, I hadn't been taking care of her properly, and, like, potentially now she's in pain, although she doesn't seem to be in pain, but the vet's saying, like, they can be in pain and they're hiding it, and, I really went into a spiral and you know, s some of it was about worry about Billy, and a lot of it was about judgment of myself, like harsh judgment that I hadn't been doing the right thing, I hadn't been responsible, I hadn't been a good parent to her, um, and needless to say, my day was derailed from how I thought it was gonna go and how I was anticipating it to go, which was I thought I'd do this short visit to the vet, and then I'd come straight home, and I would go straight into stuff that I was excited to work on for my business. I'm creating a group program that I'm coming out with soon, and I was working on my website. I had this newsletter that I was excited to write for my weekly emails, and then I was gonna take a long walk and have this very, like, spacious day where I had lots of time to relax and get inspired, but also I was gonna, get a lot done. And now I'm in this, like, massive emotional spiral about what objectively was quite probably not the end of the world. It just felt like that to my tender nerves. And so now instead of, like, getting home and straight away jumping into my next creative project, I had to pause because I couldn't be creative in that moment. I was so worked up and feeling so worried and contracted, and I can't access my creative juices when I'm in that state. And so I had to pause. I had to pause, and I had to take time out from creating, from doing, from getting stuff done. And I had to take time out to hold myself through this wave of nervous system activation. And I'm just going to pause there. I wonder if this is something that you can relate to. And if you can relate to it, I'm curious what the feelings are that come up for you about the nervous system activation, about the spiral over something fairly every day that seems to pull you out of your creative flow, pull you out of your productivity flow, pull you out of moving things forward in your business in the way that you had planned to that day. How do you feel about it? And I'll share with you how I often feel about it, which is initially, I feel annoyed and frustrated. I feel like my sensitive nervous system is getting in the way. And I have thoughts in that moment that, ugh, I'm never going to do the work that I'm meant to do in this world. I'm never going to accomplish what I want to accomplish. I'm never going to get anything done because of my sensitive nervous system that pulls me out of the moment and that feels like it can go from 0 to 100 just based on things that happen naturally through the course of the day, like things that take place in regular daily life. That's often the first initial place that I go to. And then I have to remind myself of a couple of things. The first of those things is that if I really want to do the work that's important to me, if I want to create the creations that are bubbling up in my imagination and that are getting me feeling excited and butterflies in my stomach, if I want to share the work that I do with other people, if I want to help the people who I love to support, if I want to feel fulfilled in what I'm contributing in the world, then the most expedient way for me to get back into my flow is for me to take a step back, pause what I'm doing, and hold myself through this wave of nervous system activation with skill and care and compassion. And I'm going to say that again because to me, in the moment, this is counterintuitive. And so it might feel counterintuitive to you. So I'm just going to say this again that if I actually want to get things done, and if I actually want to follow through on the projects that are in my heart that are important to me, if I want to bring my most important contributions out into the world, then the most expedient way for me to do that is not to try to white knuckle my way through when I'm feeling activated, because I'm just not going to get anywhere when I try to do that. I'm not going to get anywhere when I try to squeeze creativity out of an activated nervous system. It doesn't work. It's like jamming the gas pedal on a car when the gas tank is empty. It's not gonna bring me where I want to go any faster. In fact, it's going to slow me down, and it could it could get the car to, you know, stall out, and then I need to call AAA, and then I need to wait for however long I need to wait on the side of the road for AAA to come and tow me, right? It could slow me down a lot. And what's gonna get me to where I wanna go much more expediently is if I say, "Okay, you know what? I want it to keep going and get to my destination in one direct line, but if I really wanna get there, what I need to do right now is I need to pull over to the nearest gas station and fuel up so that I can keep going to my destination, to where I wanna go." And what this looks like for me when it's not about driving, it's funny that I'm using driving as a metaphor because, as I've mentioned before on this podcast, I haven't driven in a long time. But What this looks like for me when it's about my work and my creative flow is I pause to use the tools that work best for me. And the tools that work best for me and that I share with my clients and students who come to my workshops and folks who are part of my groups, the tools that work for me are number one, dialoguing with my fear. I like to do this through journaling, but sometimes I will also do it simply through a dialogue in my head, dialoguing with my fear as though I am the coach or therapist and my fear is the client. Approaching my fear with tenderness, compassion, non judgment, and curiosity. Asking my fear what it's feeling, what stories are coming up for it, what it's afraid of, what it's concerned about, what it's trying to protect me from. And then speaking to my fear the way I would speak to a frightened child, puppy, or friend, with love, with understanding, with acknowledgement, and also with support and reassurance. So, the first tool I go to is dialoguing with my fear. The second tool I go to is self regulation. And this can look different ways for every one of us. For me, this looks like taking a walk, taking a gentle walk outdoors, looking at nature, looking at the sky, looking at the ocean if I happen to be fortunate enough to be near the ocean at the time, or simply looking at trees or flowers wherever I can find them. Having a glass of water or something else that feels good to drink, breathing, moving my body. So, my first tool is dialoguing with fear. My second tool is self regulation. And my third tool, which I don't always need in the moment, depending on how activated I feel, but I love this tool. This is absolutely one of my favorites. And when I'm feeling very activated, I feel the need for this tool, which is co regulation. And that's connecting with another person. And that can look different ways for you than it looks for me. It can look different ways for me depending on what's going on for me at that time of day. For me, it could look like calling a friend and actually having a conversation. It could look like sending a friend a voice note, which is something I love to do. Even just the act of sending out my voice to them uh, gets me feeling connected to their energy. It could look like listening to a podcast and hearing someone else's voice that I find grounding and loving and regulating. So, those are the three tools that I go to in moments like that: dialoguing with fear, self regulation, and co regulation. And taking the time out from productivity, I know from experience, time and time again, is my fastest route back into my flow. Not only that, and this is where your sensitivity as a superpower comes in. Not only do these tools and practices help me to get back into my flow faster than I would if I kept just trying to slam the gas pedal on an empty or activated gas tank. But using these tools is such fuel for my creativity. Using these tools is often where and how I get my most creative ideas. Using the tools of dialoguing with my fear, of self regulation and co regulation It is in the practice of these tools that I often feel most creative, most inspired, and most intuitive. And that creativity, inspiration, and intuition is often what leads into my most powerful work. And that can be true for you too. I hope this gave you some inspiration. I hope that this gave you some solace about what it means to have a sensitive nervous system, if that's something you relate to. And if this story resonates with you, I want to invite you to join me for the free live workshop that I'm hosting in September, on September 9th, called Let Yourself Be Seen. It's designed for sensitive entrepreneurs and creatives who want to share their work without losing themselves. And we're going to explore how to use fear as a gateway into deeper, more authentic self expression. We're also going to explore how to share your work without burning out and how to make visibility feel energizing instead of performative and feel safe being seen, even as you stretch into your next level. We're going to practice all of the tools that I described here today. We'll practice them together. I will walk you through them hand in hand, step by step. And I would love to hang out with you and connect with you live. So I hope you'll join me on Tuesday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern, or you can watch the replay if you can't make it. But it would be really fun to connect with you there live. You can sign up at annaholtzman.com/be seen. Being sensitive is not a limitation. It's a superpower. And in the workshop, I'm going to show you how to harness it so you can show up fully, creatively, and courageously for the work that matters most to you. Hope to see you there. And until next time, take care. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.